This morning, in place of the sermon, we have a radio play. And so thanks to Sue Wilke who wrote it and to our actors who will present it to us now.
We have a part for the audience, so you're going to rehearse you right now. And if you are the closest person in your pew to this wall, will you raise your hand? Keep it up. If you are the closest person in your pew to this wall, will you raise your hand? Okay. Barbara, will you get our sign ready? Hold it up. Your part is no. All right, now I want you to do that right now as loud as you can. No. Good. If you are on this side of the church, but not the closest to the wall, your part is going to be, give us Barabbas. Let me hear you.
Give us Barabbas.
Oh, come on, louder than that.
Give us Barabbas.
Better. Okay. If you are on this side, but not the closest to the wall, your line is crucify Jesus. Let me hear it.
Crucify Jesus.
Come on, you're not going to be struck dead by the Holy Spirit. Come on. Nice and loud.
Crucify Jesus.
That's better. Now you're going to do this all together. Okay, and say it a couple of times. You know, you don't have to all be together. So 1, 2, 3.
No.
Well, the no's did a great job. Where is the give us Barabbas and the crucify Jesus? Come on, got to do this right. All right, 1, 2, 3.
No.
Better. Okay. Now, that part is going to come in when Pilate stands up and offers to free a prisoner. Barbara will stand up and hold the sign, and you're going to do your part. Okay? That's all you have to do. All right. This is a radio play, so there's no costumes. We're reading our scripts. We didn't have to memorize them. There's no real action, just the voice. You could close your eyes and pretend you were listening to the radio, but then you miss your part, so don't do that. The play opens in the newsroom of station WWJD, channel 316. The two news anchors are reporting the news.
Good morning. This is Jonah Ben David.
And Rachel at Solomon.
And this is WWJD, channel 316, with another breaking news report about Jesus of Nazareth, an obscure carpenter from Galilee, who, you will remember, was executed 6 weeks ago. Our breaking news reporter, Miriam, has informed us that she is waiting to interview Peter, who was a disciple of this Jesus. There apparently is a rumor that Peter is claiming he saw the risen Jesus ascending into heaven. We'll bring you that report live just as soon as Miriam has located Peter.
That's quite a claim, Jonah. I know Jesus became an overnight sensation about 3 years ago. He was quite popular with peasants and unsavory sorts.
I remember our reporter Miriam interviewed the high priest Caiaphas on several occasions about the activities of this Jesus and his entourage. He was quite incensed with their lack of respect for the law.
Let's rerun that interview she did just prior to the execution.
Miriam is with Caiaphas, the high priest. It is shortly after Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem.
Good morning, Jonah and Rachel. I am here with a breaking news story. Our esteemed high priest, Caiaphas, is with me. Thank you, Caiaphas, for talking with our viewers this morning.
You're welcome, Miriam. I welcome this opportunity to present the truth to our people who may have been led astray by this charlatan.
I know you are aware of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem yesterday. What is your opinion of that?
It was absurd. Nothing more than a circus for simple minds. This man and his followers They treat the Sabbath as if it were any normal day. They consort with prostitutes and tax collectors. I've heard this Jesus has even touched lepers.
But the people do seem to love him.
They want him to restore the throne of David to Israel. But all he is going to do is bring the wrath of Rome down on all of us. He must be stopped.
Do you have a plan?
You bet we do. By this time next week, we'll have everything under control. Let's just say money can buy the information that we need to end this fellow's career as Messiah.
Thank you. Thank you, Caiaphas. This is Miriam live with the latest breaking news report.
Back in the newsroom, present time.
That interview brought in a lot of comments from our viewers. Do you think it helped change the mood of the crowd?
Definitely. Miriam was reporting live from Pilate's palace when the crowd called for his death. Should we run that again for our viewers?
That's a good idea.
Miriam is with Peter, the disciple.
Good morning, Jonah and Rachel. I have another breaking news story. I'm here at Pilate's palace with Peter, former fisherman of Galilee, and for the last 3 years, a follower of Jesus of Nazareth. Good morning, Peter. Thank you for meeting me here. Can you tell our viewers what happened last night that has resulted in Jesus' being in custody and on trial?
Yes, Miriam. I'm still in shock. We were enjoying the Passover meal as we do every year at this time. Jesus was in an odd mood. Instead of following the usual script of the Seder, he said and did some strange things.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, for instance, when he served the bread, he said that this was his body that was broken for us. Then he took the cup of Elijah and said that the wine was his blood, shed for us. To tell you the truth, it was kind of creepy.
Was there anything else unusual about the evening?
Well, yes, there was some discussion about one of us betraying him. Of course, we all denied it. I especially assured him that I would always be faithful to him. And he told me I would deny him not once, nor twice, but 3 times.
And was that everything?
No, he sent Judas on some weird errand. At the time, we thought he was going to get some more food. Were we wrong?
And then the meal ended?
Yes, and instead of going to bed, he told us to come with him, and we went out to Gethsemane, where he told us to keep watch. Now, you can imagine after that food and wine, it was impossible to stay awake. He was so disappointed in us. It made me sad. I tried to stay awake, but it was just impossible.
Oh, look. Pilate's come out to make an announcement. Let's listen to what he has to say.
People of Jerusalem, I have listened to the accusations your chief priests have made against this Jesus. They say he is a blasphemer, but the evidence is very weak. I'm inclined to release him as my unusual gift to you for your Passover.
Well, we're waiting for Pilate's final decision. Is there anything else you would like to share with our viewers about the events of last night?
It was the worst night of my life. We were still asleep in the garden. We were awakened by the noise of soldiers in armor marching into the area. I couldn't believe my eyes. They were guided by Judas himself. Walked right up to the master and kissed him. This must have been some kind of prearranged signal because the soldiers took Jesus away. All of his followers ran away, but I followed at a safe distance. I was determined to be faithful.
Well, that was very noble of you.
Ah, yes. But it was just as Jesus said, before the night was over, I denied him 3 times that I knew him.
Oh, look, here comes Pilate again.
I washed my hands of this affair. Do with him as you will.
I must go now. It won't be safe for any of us.
This is Miriam, live from Pilate's palace, with the latest breaking news report saying, back to you, Jonah and Rachel.
We are back in the newsroom with Jonah and Rachel in present time.
That was quite a turnabout from one week to the next.
I'll say, one day they practically were ready to make Jesus king. A week later, they crucified him.
I believe our tireless reporter, Miriam, covered the crucifixion too.
Yes, she did.
I think we still have some time before she has located Peter for our latest breaking news story. Let's look at the clip.
Miriam is at Golgotha, where 3 men have been crucified. There are Roman soldiers and a small crowd of people observing. Miriam is speaking to one of the women.
Good afternoon, Jonah and Rachel. I'm here, live, with Mary, the wife of Clopas, or Cleopas, as some say, with our latest breaking news report.
It looks very dark out there, Miriam.
Yes, it's been very dark here since Jesus was first hung on the cross, about 3 hours ago. I can't explain it, but perhaps our meteorologist will have a report on this unusual weather with the evening news.
I know our viewers are anxiously awaiting this latest report. What have you learned?
Let's hear the story from Mary, who has been a friend of Jesus for the last 3 years. Mary, what happened here today?
Miriam, this is truly the worst day of our lives. We were all so sure that Jesus was the long-awaited Messiah. If you could have seen his triumphant entry into Jerusalem just a week ago, you would know how much the people loved him and trusted that he would restore David's throne to Israel and get rid of the hated Roman rule.
Apparently, that is not going to happen.
No, it is all over now. Everything is lost. Well, the Sabbath will be starting soon. My husband and I will have to wait until Sunday to return to Emmaus where we live, since we cannot travel on the Sabbath.
No, it's all over now. Thank you, Mary, for talking to our viewers this afternoon. I am so sorry for your loss. And now back to you, Jonah and Rachel. This is Miriam reporting live from the crucifixion of Jesus with the latest breaking news report. This marks the end of what apparently has turned out to be another false prophet.
We are back in the newsroom with Jonah and Rachel. It is present time.
We are still waiting for the live feed from Miriam, our breaking news reporter. That was quite a story, Rachel.
You've got that right, Jonah. It's always a little sad to see legends die.
Truer words were never spoken, Rachel, but I seem to remember that Miriam had a follow-up story just 2 days after that last report.
She did, Jonah. Let's run that interview she did on the following Sunday evening with that same Mary.
Miriam is again with Mary, the wife of Cleopas.
Good evening, Jonah and Rachel. I have another breaking news report. I'm here live with Mary, the wife of Cleopas. Our viewers will remember that just a few days ago, I interviewed Mary at the scene of Jesus' crucifixion. Mary, I can't help but notice that your mood has undergone a tremendous change. When last I spoke with you, you were terribly dejected. Now you seem almost euphoric. cause of the transformation.
Miriam, I am truly praising God this evening. My husband and I have just returned to Jerusalem from Emmaus. We have such good news that we have risked returning here after dark.
Please tell our viewers what has happened.
He is risen. Jesus is risen from the dead.
I don't understand.
Very simply, my husband and I started back to Emmaus earlier this afternoon. We were terribly sad about the death of Jesus. As we walked along the dusty road, we talked about how our dreams of a new era of peace ended on the cross. Shortly after leaving Jerusalem, we were joined by a fellow traveler who asked why we were so downcast. We asked him if you were the only person who did not know about all the events surrounding the loss of Jesus. He proceeded to explain to us all the scriptures, beginning with Moses, that pertain to the Messiah.
That must have been impressive.
Truly it was. He really opened the scriptures up to us. We did not realize that the Messiah was supposed to suffer and die for us. He didn't come to be king of Israel and free us from Roman rule. He came to free us from our sins so that we would be right with God.
That's very interesting, but what does this have to do with Jesus' resurrection, his returning from the dead?
I'm coming to that. Before we knew it, we were home. The stranger started to go on by himself, but Cleopas, typical man, invited him to stay for dinner. I was a bit put out because we had been gone for several days, and I really wasn't prepared for company. But I did have flour, and soon the house was filled with the aroma of baking bread. It was simple fare, but we are poor folk.
So then what happened?
The strangest thing. Of course, as host, Cleopas should have offered the prayer and broken the bread to share. But our guest took over that role. And when he did that, suddenly our eyes were opened, and we saw that it was Jesus. Not a ghostly apparition, but Jesus. Alive! He immediately disappeared, but he was real.
And now you've returned to Jerusalem to share this news?
Yes, we are on our way to tell Peter and the others. Hallelujah! Jesus is risen!
This is Miriam. This is Miriam with the latest breaking news report. Back to you, Jonah and Rachel.
We are back in the newsroom with Jonah and Rachel. It is present time.
Ladies and gentlemen of our viewing audience, we just got word from our breaking news reporter, Miriam, that she is live with Peter, just outside of Bethany, with our latest report.
Good morning, Jonah and Rachel. This is Miriam with our latest breaking news report. I am here with Peter, who has quite an incredible story to tell. Peter, can you tell our viewers some of the interesting developments in our ongoing story of Jesus of Nazareth?
Yes, Miriam. I'm happy to inform the people that Jesus did indeed rise from the dead 3 days after his crucifixion. He appeared to Mary Magdalene and some other women in the tomb in the morning of that third day. And he appeared to Cleopas and his wife on the road to Emmaus.
Yes, I remember interviewing Mary that very evening. She was pretty positive that they actually saw Jesus. But there's more to your story?
Yes, Miriam, much more. Twice, he was suddenly inside a locked room with us who were his special friends. The second time, he had Thomas put his finger into the wounds of his hands and side, because Thomas doubted the story of his first visit.
Well, that's pretty incredible. Please go on.
Well, finally, he appeared to a bunch of us who had gone fishing for the night. We were returning to the shore with empty nets, not having caught a single fish all night. A stranger on the shore called out to us, inquiring about our luck. When we told him we had nothing to show for the night's work, he told us to cast our net on the right side of the boat. Instantly, the fish net was so full we couldn't haul it aboard. John cried out, "It's the master!"
What did you do then?
Oh, I jumped out of the boat and rushed to the shore to greet him. He had a fire prepared to cook the fish. He seemed his old, loving self, yet somehow different. I asked him 3 times. He asked me 3 times if I loved him. I was almost insulted when he asked me the 3rd time, and then I remembered that 3 times I denied knowing him. That dreadful night in which he was taken prisoner. I guess he was just making sure.
And so what happened today?
We just witnessed Jesus' ascension into heaven, where he will sit at the right hand of God.
Really? Can you elaborate?
Well, he gave us a job to do, and then he blessed us. We watched as he was lifted into the clouds, and finally he disappeared.
So do you have any plans for the future?
Oh, yes, Miriam, I'm going to return to Jerusalem with the others, as Jesus told us. And after we receive the power of the Holy Spirit, I'm going to tell all the world, proclaiming that Jesus is the Son of God, and baptize all who believe. This I will do for the rest of my life.
Well, that is quite an undertaking, and good luck. And that is the end of our latest breaking news. Back to you, Jonah and Rachel.
Miriam, did you get a chance to interview Caiaphas about all this?
I tried, but he refused to speak directly to me. His press secretary did issue a statement of the temple's official policy. It is: the disciples of Jesus stole his body sometime on the Sabbath after it was placed in the tomb. They then buried it where it will never be found. The story of the resurrection has been perpetrated by a small group of deranged followers, hoping to hide the truth that this man, Jesus, was a liar and a false prophet.
Thanks, Miriam, for your faithful reporting of these events. I kind of feel sorry for Peter and his friends. I suspect they are doomed to a life of frustration and obscurity.
I agree with you, Rachel. I doubt that we will ever hear another story about this Jesus. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jonah ben David.
And Rachel, that's Solomon, saying goodbye until our next breaking news